This is Mr. Ellison again. Just want to welcome you back to another episode of Mr. Ellison's Math Minute. And today what we're going to talk about is a concept called adding and mixed numbers. Okay? Now, most people look at fractions and they look at mixed numbers together and they think, oh my gosh, it's a fraction and a whole number. But today we're going to talk about them, and I'm going to show you guys how to solve a mixed number, two mixed numbers that are added together to find a sum. And I'm going to show you how to do it easily so that you're not, people that get freaked out about fractions can kind of ease their fears a little bit, because I know how fractions can be. They're kind of crazy sometimes. But today, we're going to look at these two numbers right here. We're going to 3 1/8 plus 5 1/3. Now, if we look at these numbers, what we can do is we can see that 3 1/8 plus 5 1/3, there's one whole number, there's two whole numbers, there's one fraction, there's two fractions. So there's actually four numbers in there, and all four of these numbers are being added together. So adding these numbers together is the same thing as saying this: 3 plus 1/8 plus 5 plus 1/3. Okay? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to liken solving this problem to a hospital, okay? Now, folks go to the hospital for a variety of things. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to separate our whole numbers, and we're going to separate our fractions from each other and solve them individually, and then bring them back together for one final answer. Now, I like to liken this side of the problem to the ER, okay? Now the ER, you go in there, you may have a cut or something, and bam, they throw some stitches on it, slap a Band-Aid on it, and you're fine, ready to go, okay? And then, on the other side of our hospital, we have the operations that tend to need a little bit more work, and therefore we have to work on them a little bit more than we would the operations in the ER, okay? So, let's go ahead and get started solving this problem. Now, when you look at these four numbers, I like to think of those as patients going to the hospital, okay? We have one patient, we have two patients, we have three patients, and we have four patients. The 3, the 1/8, the 5, and the 1/3. Now, we're going to go to the hospital, okay? So here's our hospital, and here are two sections. Here's the ER, and here's the OR. Now, our simple operations are going to be these nice, tidy little whole numbers, okay? Just a quick fix, add them together, you've got your solution for that half of the problem. So let's go ahead and do that. We've got our 3 plus our 5. And there you go. You have a simple 8. Alright? Now, on the other hand, with these fractions, it's not such an easy venture. We look at these, and we're going to go back to our session on doing fractions, just briefly enough to know that when we're adding two fractions together, the denominators, or the bottom parts of the fraction, they have to be the same, or else we can't do anything with them until we make them the same. So we've got this 1/8 and this 1/3. We know they're not the same, so we're going to have to fix them. We're going to have to operate them on them a little bit more than we did this 3 and the 5. So we're going to have to send the 1/8 and the 1/3, these two patients, into the OR. Now here's our 1/8, and here's our plus 1/3, okay? Now there's some steps that I want to do, operating steps that we use to operate on these fractions so that we can get them fixed up and we can send them home with that whole number, okay? Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at this 8 and this 3. The first step is, are they alike? And we know obviously they're not. Now the second thing we want to look at is, with these two fractions, are one of them, the denominators, a multiple of the other? In other words, is 8 times some number going to give me 3, or is 3 times some number going to give me 8? Now, we know that 8 times some number will never give me 3, unless it's a fractional smaller number. And then 3 times some number is never going to give me 8. So what we're going to do is, now that we've done through those two steps of the operation, we're going to look at them and go, okay, there's another method we can use to find the common denominator. And it's called the least common multiple. Now, what we do to find least common multiple is we set these two numbers in the denominator aside, outside the operating section, and we got our 3, and we've got our 8. Now we're going to find some of the multiples of 3, and we're going to find the multiples of 8, and then we're going to find the smallest multiple that they have in common, and that's going to be our least common denominator that we can turn our fractions into, that we can add the fractions together. So let's do 3. We got 3 times 1 is 3, 3 times 2 is 6, 3 times 3 is 9, 3 times 4 is 12, times 5 is 15, times 6 is 18, times 7 is 21, 3 times 8 is 24. Now, let's look at our 8 and let's find some multiples. 8 times 1 is 8, 8 times 2 is 16, 8 times 3 is 24. Now, we found the smallest multiple already. It's 24. It's the smallest one they're going to have in common. So what we're going to want to do is take these fractions and turn their denominators into a multiple that has 24 in it, okay? So we're going to make our new fractions, and we're going to put 24 right here. 24 in this one and 24 in that one. And we're going to find equivalent fractions for that number that give us a 24, and we're going to find an equivalent fraction for this fraction to give us 24, okay? So let's look. To go from 8 to 24, we had to multiply by 3. So we're going to do 8 times 3 gives us 24. Now, in order to find an equivalent fraction, we have to multiply the top and the bottom of that fraction by the same multiple. So we're going to have to multiply this 1 times 3, and it'll give us 1 times 3 is 3. So another way of saying 1/8 is 3/24. 3/24 is just, in its reduced form, would be 1/8. Now let's look at 1/3. Now to get from 3 to 24, we had to multiply times 8. Okay? So 3 times 8 gives me 24. Now, like the other one, I have to multiply the top number in the fraction, the numerator, by the same multiple. So it's 1 times 8, which gives me 8. So another way of saying 1/3 is 8 over 24. Now, look what happened. I bring down my plus sign. Now I no longer need these two fractions because I found new ones that have a common denominator. So let's cross these out. We no longer need them. Out of sight, out of mind. Now, what we can do is we can now add these together, add the numerators, and keep the denominator. Okay? So we've got 3 plus 8, which gives us 11. And then we can keep our 24. 11 over 24. Now, these two patients were operated on, and they're ready to go home. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our patient that was easy to work on, our two patients, and what they're going to do is they came together, and this 11/24, those two patients, they were worked on too, and now they can leave the hospital together. Okay? Now they can leave the hospital as 8 and 11/24. Now, when you're working out a problem like this, just use some of these little mnemonic devices, some of these little draw a picture type things, and they'll really help you see the problem. And like I said, use a hospital for this one. The easy operations over here and the more difficult ones over here. Don't try to work them out like this, because a lot of times with a lot of students, I've noticed in my experience as a teacher is that it really freaks them out and it confuses some people. So if you split it up and break it down, you'll get the answer every time. Okay? Thank you for coming out for Mr. Ellison's Math Minute, and I hope that I was a little bit of a help. Okay? I hope I was able, for those of you that are struggling with adding and subtracting mixed numbers, I hope I was able to help you out. If you have any other questions, just feel free to get on my blog, okay? And this is my blog address. My blog is, I'm going to erase this real quick. It is Mr. lowercase Mr. Mr. Ellison, Ellison, SASIC dot blogspot .com. Okay, Mr. Ellison Sasic.blogspot.com. And if you have any questions, just email me there. or come to my blog, and I've got all kinds of videos and personal videos that I've made involving certain concepts of math. Just feel free to get on there and use it, okay? You have a good day, and keep those math gears running, okay? Bye.